So you finally got that job interview you wanted. You dressed up like the plumber that you want to be. You went in, you answered all their questions correctly, and then you get to the end. And they ask you, do you have any questions for us? The last thing you want to do is say, no, you know what, I think you covered all of them. You want to let them know that you care enough about you and your future that you have questions. And today what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some questions that you can ask, and I'm going to tell you the things you don't want to ask. And this is going to be big because this is what's going to help you land the job that you want. But remember, this is an interview process, and it's not just them interviewing you, it's your opportunity to interview them as the company that you're thinking about going to work for to see if this is the right job for you. So when it gets down to the end and they say, fantastic, we don't have any more questions. Do you have any questions for us? The last thing you want to do is say no. But what do you say? What do you ask? It's really easy. You want to find out what this can do for you. What can this job, what can this department do to help you be successful? Now, if you're in the trades or trying to get into the trades, you're looking for an opportunity to come in and learn. So one of the first things you want to talk about is your success. So you want to ask questions, what will lead to your success here? What kind of training program do they have? What kind of system do they have in place to make sure that you get the knowledge, the tools, whatever information it is, what do they have in place to help make sure you get there? And this is really important because some companies I worked for had no training at all. Some companies that I worked for had training scheduled where you had to do so much training every quarter. And I'll tell you what, having training set up, having training in place where there's a system and a process to help make sure that you learn what the steps are and the things you need to know to advance and proceed to the next level, that part is huge. The next thing that you want to ask questions about are the culture. What is it like working at that office? What is it like working in that department? If you have kids or you're thinking about getting married, you also want to ask about the family. So success, culture, and family. And what I mean is, are they family oriented? Do they understand that? Do they come from a good, strong family background? Now, you can't really ask questions like that, but if you're asking them about your family, my fiance and I are thinking about getting married and we want to have kids. Do y'all understand that, sometimes things happen and families have to be taken care of? And you want to be careful how you ask this because you don't want to make them think, look, I'm just looking for ways to get off work, but you want to understand what things they're doing to help you be successful. What is the culture like? And is this going to be good for your family? Let me start off by saying this. You don't want to ask questions that you could find out by doing research. Think about companies these days. You can go in and look at a company and you can find out what their culture's about. What's their mission statement? What's their vision? Do a little bit of research. You may decide before the interview you don't want to work there. Check and do your research and find out, is this a company that I would like to work for? That way, when you're in there, you're not asking questions that they're like, man, this guy could have gone and looked on the internet and answered this. So what you're wanting to do, you want to ask questions that will help you get a feel for the company, a feel for the person who's interviewing you. Because if you can connect with that person, that's a really big deal. So I've got a few questions that I've asked before. And remember, you want to have more than one question in mind. The reason being, during the interview, they may have answered that question. So make sure you don't ask a question that they've already really answered. Because if they have, and you ask that question again, the first thing they're going to be thinking is, wait, weren't they listening when we were talking? Because if you aren't, that's going to be a bad sign right there in the beginning. One of the great questions could be, so what's the next step in the process? What is next? Where do I go from here? Meaning, are y'all going to call me? Should I call back and check? Is there a testing procedure? Is there another interview set up? What is next in the process? They may say, we've got to go through other interviews and other applicants because we've had 30 or 40 people apply for this job. And that's fine. At least you're asking questions. So don't stop there. After you've asked them what's next in the process, then you can ask them about something you may really want to know about that company or that division. I say division because if you're in the trades like me, I may want to be getting into the service division, but they may also have a construction division. So if there's two different divisions, which one am I being looked at for? And what is the culture like in that division? What is the training like in that division? Is there a possibility possibility later to maybe work in the other division to learn more about something else. You may want to ask about past successes. What have some other employees that have hired in at this position, have they grown with your company? What have they grown to do? Did they get the knowledge from the company or did they get outside training? You want to ask questions to let them know that you have an interest in being part of the team, that you have an interest in learning and growing with their company. And that's going to be a big deal because you want them to understand you plan on being there for a while. You see this as a job, a career, a profession, not just, hey, I'm going to come to work here for a little while because I need a few bucks because I want to go to Mexico. You want to let them know that you have long-term plans on being with their company and you're worried about your future. And besides, if you're asking about your success, that lets them know you're thinking ahead. You're thinking about your future and where you want to be. And you're also trying to see how you can tie that together with their company and their culture and the things they believe in. Now, you can also ask them, what's a normal day? What's a normal week like around here? Are you out in the field all the time? Are you in the office? Are you working on trucks? Are you getting things ready? What does a normal day look like around here? And then ask, where do you see me in 90 days? Meaning 90 days from now, where do you expect me to be? What do you expect me to have learned? Where do you expect me to be able to contribute back to the company? And remember, if you're just starting out, you're not much of a contributor. You're literally there to help people and to learn, because then you want to get to the point that you can actually contribute. You come and you're a benefit to the company because now you're actually part of the process to helping them make revenue. Remember, that's at the end of the day, what we're all here to do is help the companies that we're at make money. That way they can pay us to do the job they've hired us to do. So you want to see, where do I fit in that process? How do I move up? Where do you plan on me being? And what am I going to learn to help bring benefit back to the company? Because when you bring value to the company, you become worth more money. Another really good question is, what quality do you normally see in people that succeed at this job? Meaning, it may be people that are, outside the box thinkers, normally are really good at this. So ask them, what kind of people have you hired and brought in that have done really well at this? And what kind of traits did they have? What kind of skills did they have? What kind of knowledge did they bring in that helped them do really well? Maybe it's just an attitude. With most companies, an attitude and having the right attitude can be the biggest thing on earth. And if you can bring that positive attitude in and you're willing to learn and grow, you may get hired whether you have any skills at all or not. Now, another thing you can ask is, what challenges have previous people had? And think about it. Everybody that comes into a company doesn't stay with them forever. So what challenges did they have? Was it challenges that they brought in themselves? Or was it challenges that maybe the company created? Hey, you've got to be able to lift 50 pounds 100 times a day. That can be tough on some people. So always ask, are there any challenges that I need to be prepared for that may make this job tougher than it appears from the outside? Because I'm really interested in this job. And things like that are really good. Another really good question to ask, and this kind of gets into the culture thing, is asking your interviewer. And this is a great way to connect with them. Do you mind if I ask you why you came to work here? What was it about this company, about this department that brought you in here? And they may tell you of their story and their progression, how they came in as an apprentice and moved up to a journeyman and a master, and then they moved into project management or the office. So talk to them and connect with them and ask them, look, what made you come to work here and why do you still stay? What is it that just keeps you around? What is it that gets you up in the morning and gets you excited about coming to work? And if you can let them know that you care about the company and you care about wanting to find a career that can help you and help you grow, that is a great way to connect with people. And it may be the culture. This may be where you ask, what is it like working here every day? I mean, what is it? You may find out about morning meetings. You may find out about company picnics. You may find out things about the culture of the company that's not on the internet. Remember, don't ask things that you should be able to find on the internet. Ask information that's going to help you decide, is this the right company for you to work at? And then another great question to ask is, what do you love most about working at this company? Or what do you love most about working in this department? If you're interviewing with someone that's going to be in the exact same department that you're going to be in, this could be a great question. Because if they tell you what they love about it, you say, oh my gosh, you know what? I love that. I love that, the company does this for their employees or whatever it is. So listen to people. And a big thing is, don't just listen to people to think about what you're going to ask next. Listen to them so you can think about what they're answering to you. So when you ask that question, make sure you're listening, enough that you could repeat the question back. That way you completely understand everything they're saying and you can think about that and work with it. Now, one of the good questions that's really tough to ask, but this is one that I asked in one of my job interviews that probably really made it the reason I got the job. It was because I was able to give them more of an answer than during the interview. And what that question was, is I asked, was there anything today during this interview process that makes you think maybe I'm not the right position for this job? And when they said, well, yes, actually, when it goes back to this, you don't have this license. And my next answer was, I agree that I don't have that yet. That's a license I've always wanted to get, and I've actually been studying for it, and I've actually signed up for that class, and I've checked into that class. I just don't have the money to do it right now, but that is something that I want to do. If you're able to follow up with one answer, but remember, when you ask them, is there a reason you may not want to hire me? You may not like the answer, but at least it gives you something to think about. At least it lets you know, okay, I'm probably not going to get hired here. I need to start looking for another job. But what worked for me is it gave me an opportunity to further answer the question. And by giving him more of an answer, he said, you know what? I think we can make this work. You need to figure out how bad you want this job. You need to have questions ready to ask when you walk in. And remember, if they've answered those questions along the way, don't ask the question again. Know what questions you can ask. And remember too, when they're asking you questions during the interview process, they want to find out these same things about you. Do you plan on having success at this company? Are you the kind of guy that fits in their culture? So think about these things before you go in. Listen very clearly during the interview and make sure you've got questions of your own. Don't ask too many. I normally like to ask 3 or 4 questions. So come up with your game plan and see what works for you. If you've been through an interview process and when it got to the end, they asked you, do you have any questions? Do me a favor and leave me a comment down below and let me know, did you have any? And if so, what is the best question you've ever asked during an interview? I'm Roger Wakefield, Lead AP, the Expert Plumber. I'll see you in the next video if you don't get flushed.